Elementary music teacher friend, you love what you do, but you might feel unappreciated and, in fact, unseen some days. You may even feel like you're on a music teacher island and just want to connect with other music teachers who can relate to both your struggles and wins when it comes to teaching elementary music. I get you and understand completely the feelings you're having. That's why each and every week, the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast will provide you with solo and guest episodes that will help you realize you're not alone in your music teaching journey. Throughout each episode, my goal is for you to be able to walk away with actionable steps and ideas to help you feel like you're ready to take on the new week with whatever challenges may be thrown your way. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Peresta, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're at home, in your car, in the shower, or wherever else you're listening, grab your cup of coffee or whatever other beverage is nearby and listen in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited. This is a guest that I actually met on Clubhouse. If you're not on that app yet, you need to go there because there's amazing conversations with educators happening every day. So yes. Jamal, welcome to the podcast. I just want to start by letting you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about your work and anything else you want to share.
Thank you, Jessica. It is great to be on to talk to you face to face, where I can actually see your real face and hear your real voice. Thank you for everybody that's listening. My name is Jamal Maxsam. I am an igniter of champion leaders. I started out as a teacher, as a full-time substitute teacher, teaching music because I'm a musician. My former teacher was the director at the time, and he was like, I got this spot. I need to fill. Come work for me. And so I started out teaching music, did that for a couple of years while earning my teaching certificate. Once I got my certificate, I began to teach technology. And then from there, I shifted and began to serve as a principal. I was in charter schools, and so I know what that charter world is like. And then I was in the traditional public schools, so I got to see the other side of the coin and really experience what that is like as well. And so now, full time, I help aspiring principals go to the principal's office, teachers who want to get out of the classroom and want to go to the principal's office, want to step into educational leadership. That's what I do. I fill in those gaps from the traditional program that I had to learn like on the job. It's like, ooh, they didn't teach me this. And so I help fill in those gaps. And so that's what I do now. I just love helping and supporting people. I have a special love for what people call specials teachers because, you know, I'm one at heart. And so, just glad to be here and glad to talk.
Yeah. You and I actually in Clubhouse yesterday talked about, you hosted a room about this exact topic about what did they not teach you before you became a teacher. And we were kind of having a conversation about music teachers or technology teachers, art teachers, whatever. Yeah. And the fact that you feel like you're constantly having to advocate for yourself, improve yourself. And I am a real teacher. Or you feel like undervalued by others in your school building. And I know that you even shared your story that you felt that way as well. And do you find this happens a lot with those who, you know, specials teachers, encore teachers, whatever they're called at their school buildings?
Yes, absolutely. It seems like, unfortunately, if you're not teaching math, science, or ELA, social studies teachers get it a little bit, but not as much as us. It seems like our content isn't valued. You know, I was in a school where I was teaching technology, literally for K-8. So I was teaching kindergartners how to hold the mouse, how to click, how to double click, how to actually use a computer. And I was told by the dean that I had to prove that my content was worthwhile because some of the other administrators wanted to cut my class. And I was like, well, now here's the backwards philosophy of that. We used NWEA map testing and tested the entire school 3 times a year to get a benchmark, baseline scores in the fall, a mid-year, see where they are, end of the year, spring growth. That's a computerized test. So I'm teaching everyday kids how to use a computer. They take a computerized standardized test, but the value of me teaching them how to use the computer was questioned. And I find that happens. Like, it's like the art teacher really isn't thought about until they do an art show, or the music teacher isn't thought about. And I know you taught music, so you already know they don't think about what you do every day. They think about you for the spring concert, for the holiday concerts, and maybe a little something around Thanksgiving. It's like the Christmas time concert and the spring concert is the thing. But after that, it's almost like they expect you to be, they want you to do extra lunch duties, extra recess duties, be the extra hall monitor. It's almost like you're treated like you're not an educator. Yep. Like you didn't put the time and effort in to learn your content, to learn your craft, to take these instructional strategies that they teach in PDs that are not tailored to your content and figure out how to make them work within your class. Yeah. And so I've experienced it. I've seen it. And it's one of those things that I had to learn, and we all had to learn to navigate around in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm so passionate about helping elementary music teachers, because I know that frustration sitting in those staff meetings and like, none of this relates to me. Yes. Nobody's catering any of this, even in college. We talked about that yesterday. You get one classroom management class and it's catered to the regular classroom teachers, and you're sitting there like, I'm not going to have desks. So what are you talking about? And then one special education class. And it's like, you can't take that one little snippet of information and just immediately know what to do. It's so frustrating. We could go on and on about that. But yeah, I can't tell you the amount of times from parents, teachers, and students that said to me, you have to have a degree to teach music. And I'm like, I took every education class. These other teachers, they took elementary, classes designed for their particular degree plan, but the basic education classes, we all had to take the same stuff. And I think people don't realize that, like, yes, I had to get certified, like the same praxis test, everything, Mm-hmm. And so, it's frustrating. But on the flip side of that, you and I were talking about before we started recording, why, if a music art teacher wants to get into being a school leader, a principal position, why it actually is a great thing. And what were you saying about that to me? I thought it was really neat.
Absolutely. It is a great thing, because the assumption is that because you didn't teach ELA, math, science, or one of those other subjects, that all of a sudden a person can't be an instructional leader. Mm-hmm. However, that is totally not the case, because one, when it comes to setting climate and culture for an entire school building, specials teachers have the advantage, because in most cases, especially in the elementary land, you've taught the whole school building. I mean, if you were on the AB rotation, ABC rotation, it doesn't matter. Sooner or later, you saw the entire school within that week, and you knew how to reteach. You knew if you taught one kindergarten class one way, and based on how that went, you knew you could adjust it when you taught it again the very next day, because you were going to get the different kindergarten class who had to learn and master the same content. So you know how to adapt lessons on the fly. You know how to see the progression of learning of a standard, because you have one standard, and for kindergarten is this, but for first grade is this, and you have to literally teach that entire progression in one day. So you know what that looks like. And then as far as culture and behavior management, because you've taught the whole school, you know how to engage all the learners in the building in a cultural aspect to help their environment be conducive for learning. Third grade, when you get to like most K2 are like self-contained. And so they are locked into that one grade level. Mm-hmm. And then depending on your school, third grade on up, they may rotate between their team, but it's not like that teacher has the advantage of seeing different grade levels, and because it's different. I mean, you can teach third grade in one 45-minute block, and depending on how it's scheduled, your next block could be sixth graders or kindergartners. Or they'll have you assign a lunch duty, and one lunch duty, you got K2 kids, and then the next one you got, fifth and sixth graders. Mm-hmm. And you have to immediately adjust mentally to deal with these older students. And that's not something what they call core content teacher had to deal with. So really, as a specials teacher, you have an advantage that other teachers don't have. You just have to see it that way.
Yeah. We need administrators like you who just understand arts teachers and advocate and encourage, because I know from talking to music educators, I'm sure you see this in the administrator side of things. There are many administrators who are not appreciative of the music program in their own school building. And it's very hard to see that. And it's sad to see that. I've worked with the one who hired me in my first teaching position. She looked at me and said, it's either you or someone else. Do you want the job? And I'm like, wait a minute, just the way she said it. Yeah. It's just kind of like, I don't care. Do you want it? If not, I'm offering it to the next person. But then the administrator that came in after her about 2 years later was amazing and supportive and really, and I was like, I didn't realize there could be that much of a difference, I was like, oh my goodness. Like it made me want to keep showing up and like trying, just because you get that support,
Absolutely.
And so, it's huge. And so supporting music teachers, it's just such a huge thing. And we appreciate that. When it comes to, you were a music teacher and a technology teacher. So what was that shift like for you? For those who are listening or maybe curious about stepping into a school leadership role, what was that shift like for you when you went from the classroom setting to an administrator role?
Yeah, it was interesting, but I had like a midpoint before I got to step into it, because one of the things I was able to do was get involved in the NWEA MAP testing and get involved in the academic intervention. And so that kind of forced me, because my principal at the time was a former PE teacher. And he was like, look, you're interested in leadership. You're going to have to learn instruction. You're going to have to learn these other contents. And so he allowed me to get experience, doing after school tutoring and doing summer school. But that the shift actually happened against my will, per se. It's the best way to say it, because they made a decision to get this program, because I was teaching technology. They made a decision to get a program that kids who were performing below grade level could do, that would help them, that would basically provide some type of academic intervention. But the program was in conjunction with me having to teach. So the way, it wasn't like a sit and get at the computer, which is great because I don't really advocate for those. And so, but this program was, they would assess the kid, figure out where they are, identify the deficiency, and then put them on a learning path to watch short mini lessons and then complete exercises to overcome that deficiency. And it was in reading and math. And they wanted to do this like full time. And so, of course, I advocated and fought, because they were like, look, instead of kids going to what they call specials, I'm like, you're pulling kids from a class.
Right.
They were like, kids who were below a certain percentage would come and do this on the computer. And guess what? So that means my class was eliminated, and all of those kids had to come. So I would have 60 kids in a computer lab at one time.
Oh my gosh.
And then a different teacher on our team would rotate in when they had a grade level where they really didn't have enough kids to teach a full class. So that person would rotate in. And so then I would have to teach a mini lesson before, so the kids could do what they were doing in their individual learning path. And then when they were struggling, I had to pull them to my desk and work with them one-on-one to help them get past the struggle point. Because if they start struggling, the software will flag you and that kind of thing. So that was actually the practice to helping me step into administration, because doing that allowed me to, one, it forced me to have to become very clear on these other contents and subjects, but it helped me to really think more about assessments and how they're used, how data should be used. And that was the thing. And then I ended up taking on a leadership role because I was in charge of that. It became my baby. And I mean, it was effective because we were seeing kids, grow by 2 years within one school year, which was good when you talk about closing the achievement gap. Yeah. And so that was like my midpoint. And I was already had responsibility over our team, just kind of like by default, because you know how it is. Some folks are like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yes,
you do that.
There's like one person that steps up. You're like, that was me too. I was like, I guess it's me.
Right. So I was kind of the leader by default, and so that forced me to even lead more, because I had to create schedules for the rest of the team. I had to, do all of those kind of things. So that was a good precursor for admin. But I would say for schools who don't have that, it's just a mental shift of looking at someone else's, getting used to looking at another subject's standard, because you're so used to seeing your standards and breaking them down extremely quick because you've been teaching it, and you teach the entire progression within 1 week, or really within 1 day. It's just practicing looking at other standards and getting used to what they look like, and just exposing and engrossing yourself in it. And then once you know what it's supposed to look like, you're good. And so, so that was what I did. And that's what helped me make that shift into administration. But I would tell you, I was a different kind of principal, because I was like, every subject matters. Yes. Students couldn't be on the honor roll if they weren't performing in every class. Yes. So if a kid wasn't participating in music or PE, or, didn't want to even try in art, I was like, you're not on the honor roll just because you're good in math and ELA and science. Honor roll is for all of your subjects. Everything. You can't exclude certain subjects as if they don't count. And I didn't want to send that impression to the parents or to the students or to the teachers. So I ain't do it.
Hey, that's amazing. Okay. Like, that is so needed. Oh my gosh. I wish you just need to go knock on every administrator's door in every single school. Okay. Can you do that? Because they need to hear this, and I know you're passionate about that. So keep it up. I mean, because it's so important to hear that message. Because I know that that's not the case everywhere. It's honor roll, but you're just kind of told, pass the kids in your class, even if they're literally just sitting there not participating. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. Like, they're not doing anything.
Exactly. And then that encouraged them to not do anything even more. Yeah, because they know they're just like, they didn't do anything, and they get an okay grade. I'm not going to do nothing either.
Exactly. I'll just sit here and I'm still going to pass. It's fine. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. So music teachers listening who maybe they don't want to step into that administrator role, but they still want to be a leader in their school building. But maybe there is some imposter syndrome there of, like we've already discussed, well, I'm not a reading teacher, or I don't teach math. So how can I lead anyone in my school when it comes to other teachers? Or if you're asked to present something even in a staff meeting and you're feeling a little bit like shy about it, or stepping into that leadership role because you think I'm just the music teacher. How can music teachers move forward with those kind of thought patterns and step into a leadership role in their school building?
Right. And I would say the first thing is they have to realize they are not just anything. They are a professional that teaches music. Just like you said earlier, they went to school, got certified, put the work in, got the student loans probably.
Oh, yes.
and they are teaching their content, and it's just as valuable as the next person's. Because music, we all know music teaches, fractions and math and all kinds of things within the context of it. And sometimes it's a little bit of social studies and ELA, because you get in the background of when this song was actually sung or when the song was composed and all of those things. And so I would say, bring your confidence, but then 2, bring your strength. Talk about classroom management. Talk about how you keep students engaged, because teaching music, some kids come and they don't want to participate because they say, look, I don't like singing, I don't know how to sing. Yeah. But music is not about, we're not signing you. I used to tell kids, I'm not signing you to a record deal. Right. Your name is not Beyonce. I'm not expecting the best performance I've ever seen, at a professional level. I'm just expecting you to learn this content and put forth the effort. And so you could talk about how you get an unengaged learner engaged and eventually liking and loving your class because of the strategies you use to teach and the classroom management strategies that you have. And so you could present that, but then you can also talk about how to deconstruct the standard. Instruction is instruction is instruction. And if you can deconstruct a music standard, you can deconstruct an ELA standard or a math standard, and you can teach other people how to do it and how to understand the progression of learning that comes with it. So when they teach it, they can teach it in a way that sets them up for success to master the next level of that standard. And so those are the things you go in there with. And I repeat again, you have to go in there with confidence, because you as a music teacher, I'm talking to your audience, have a lot to say and a lot to offer. You just have to know that you can bring it and just bring it.
Oh, yeah. I love that. It's so true. One thing that you said that really stood out to me is the fact that there are sometimes students you'll see in the music room, and, you know, teachers will tell you before you even see that kid, ooh, watch out for Johnny. He's going to be a behavior problem. And then I'm like, I haven't had any issues with him, you know, or maybe I did, but he ended up showing up for me and showing up for music class because I kept encouraging him, like, you know, he felt like he could achieve in there. And, you know, that was one question I got asked a lot by the classroom teachers. They were like, how are you not having any issues with this child? And I'm like, and so I would kind of tell them, like, this is what I've tried. And then they would start implementing some strategies. Yeah. And lo and behold, they would start connecting with this kid. And you know, we talked about that before as well, about relationships with students, connecting with these kids. That's huge. And music teachers do that all the time. So yes, I love that. So much to offer. And when you said a standard is a standard is a standard, and you know, you look at your standards and you figured out how to implement them and break them down to reach your kids. There are some teachers teaching, let's say, a science unit, and they're like, okay, I have these objectives here to teach. How do I go about doing it? And you're like, well, hey, you know, I don't know science, but I can help you kind of deconstruct that and know where to go from point A to Z. Absolutely. And just, you know, maybe not tell them how to teach it, but just like, here's how I would start, or here's how I present a lesson. I love that. All of that was such great advice. Thank you.
And how to keep stuff hands-on. Because here's I don't want to talk about the problem of education as a whole, but I'll just say, here's one of the things that I've seen is that we all talk about the model of education has to change, but the problem is we're talking but not changing it. And music teachers and art teachers, by design, their lessons have to be engaging and hands-on. You can't stand and do a lecture for a music class. No, sooner or later, somebody has to sing something, or if you're doing bucket drumming, somebody has to hold the stick and pound or do the pattern or do something. Yes. And so that is what we can bring, because a kid is bored sitting in an ELA class and the teacher's just lecturing and writing on the whiteboard, or having fun with their PowerPoints because they created slides that have effects now because they learned a new skill and they think, oh, this is great. The kids are going to learn it. You know, the kids, you know, they're not moved by the little sound effect because they're playing games with thousands of sound effects.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's popping everywhere. And so, but we can help, you know, teachers who are teaching these other contents. When you have subjects that are just flat out boring, or portions of it that's flat out boring, how to keep it engaging? What do you do to engage? How do you engage them to where they are interacting with the material and not just listening to you talk about the material? And another thing that music teachers can offer is there are a lot of music teachers who, even listening to this podcast, have started a side hustle, whatever that may look like for them. And I know you're super passionate about being an edupreneur and talking to edupreneurs just like I am. And one of the main things you hear, going back to the fear thing, is who am I? And I can't do that. Everybody else is doing that. So for someone wanting to start anything, it doesn't matter what it is, the thing is, but wanting to start an edupreneurship and step into a leadership role that way, how would you encourage them to get started with figuring out what that thing is, or how to just get moving forward? Well, I would just first encourage them to be clear on it. That's what you want to do. Because I would say this, edupreneurship is like a marriage. You have to say yes to it every single day. And when the honeymoon is over, and when the challenges come, you have to say yes. And it has to be a fresh yes, because you will hear no from enough people that you got to have somebody saying yes. And it might as well start with you, because if you're not saying yes to yourself and to your vision and to your business, no one else will.
Yeah.
And so that will be my first thing. But I would tell people, one, just do like I call it a vision dump. Just whiteboard out and or write down every idea that you have as far as your business. And then figure out, and then what I did too is I made a chart, because I started looking at what skills that I'm using right now that are transferable, so you can look at, okay, here are the ideas I have. Here are my current skills that are transferable. And then figure out what is my now thing. Because we can do a lot of stuff, because, I'll tell you, music teachers are especially multi-gifted and multi-talented. You have music teachers that can play multiple instruments, that know recording and can mix and use, software like Cubase and Logic, and they can do all these things. They can do voiceovers. I mean, it's just phenomenal, the talent of a music teacher. And so you got to figure out they can teach lessons. It's like, what is the thing that is your right now thing? Because I'm not saying, and I tell people, never reduce or small down your vision. Just figure out what is for right now, and then what gets added on as you get moving. And then I tell them to get started. Don't wait on it to be perfect, because you will iterate your way to awesome. Make a get started choice and adapt and adjust as you go.
Yeah, it's so true. Getting into online business or whatever, even edupreneurship, like you said, can even look like teaching online lessons or in-person lessons.
Yes.
It can be anything you want to do on the side that you're passionate about. And I think those skills are definitely things you bring back to your school, and you can help other teachers as well with those things. Hey, like if they're tutoring a student one-on-one, well, I teach students private lessons one-on-one. Here's how this works for me. It's like always these skills you're learning, you can adapt them to help the other teachers in your building as well. But like you said, it's showing up every day. You see when you get started with a side hustle, online business, whatever it might be, these gurus, experts, whoever it is, it's so easy. Just get on, just start the business. It's going to just take off. Yeah, you're going to be sipping margaritas on the beach. Wouldn't we all love that every day? But I'm like, listen, I show up every day. There's days that are hard. There's days I get a hateful email. There's days where my message is not being received, or not getting to a big enough audience as I thought it would, or whatever. Insert whatever the issue is. But what drives me is my passion, and what drives you music teachers listening is your passion. It's identifying what is that thing. Just like Jamal said, what is that thing for you? And whatever it is, it can be like the smallest, I just want to create some PDFs and, sell them on TPT. Awesome. We need it. Because even if you look on there and you're like, oh, but everybody else already sells blah, 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 blah. Nobody's like creating what you can create with your voice, your branding, your style. So don't let that stop you. That fear of everybody else is doing it already.
Absolutely. Because I believe this, and this is one of the things I've learned, because I've been doing this full time for a little more than a year now. And I would say this, to the music teacher starting, you are not jumping into a market where you have to compete for clients or customers. All you are doing is making your voice heard and attracting the people who can only be serviced by you. You are just taking your rightful position in that place, and everyone else is just your peer, because they can't serve who you serve. And so, it's essential to get going. And one other thing I would say is this too, and I learned this: there are many blueprints for success. Because you get on any social media platform, there'll be 1,000 coaches telling you what to do. And, they got coaches whose sole business is to coach coaches. And I mean, it's all kind of stuff. So you do have to watch out for the ones who haven't done anything but coaching other businesses. Like if they haven't transferred from another career, and their only thing they've done is to try to coach people on doing something, that's a little, watch out for that. That's a little suspect. But out of all of these methods, and I would say they probably work for them, so I would say this: there are many doors and many blueprints, but there is only one for you. So you have to find the blueprint, the method, and the door that specifically fits you, your passion, your brand, and the lifestyle you want to create for yourself. And go after that. Even though all of these other things all these other methods are great, but you don't want to get into the shiny object syndrome in terms of courses, because we're educators, we love learning, where you're doing course after course after course after course after course. You settle on the method and the path for you, and then you go after it and then start making some money. And if you want to get those other courses later just to see what they're talking about, do that. But you need to establish yourself and make some money first. Mm-hmm. And so don't get distracted by the multiple ways, the multiple roads you could take. Just find the one that's the best fit for you and take it.
So good. Yes. We've talked about so much today. You just brought so much helpful advice to the table, and I appreciate it so much. And so do you have any other advice about anything we talked about today or anything we didn't talk about today that you want to share with my audience?
Thank you so much. I would just say this to the audience, music teachers especially: when you feel you need to make a shift, do it. Whether it be becoming a team leader, whether it be going to administration or edupreneurship as a side hustle, or building it to the point where it can eventually replace, be a full-time thing. You only get one life, and there are moments in your life, and after they pass, you don't get them back. You can try to make up for lost time, but you really can't get those minutes back. Mm-hmm. So you have to follow your passion, follow your dream, follow your heart, and recognize that you are just as capable, you're just as gifted, and you have just as much as an advantage as anybody else. You just have to believe in you and give yourself that fresh yes every day.
Awesome. Where can everybody connect with you after this episode?
Yeah, I'm on every single social media platform, except for, I think I'm on Pinterest too, but I don't use that one.
Yeah.
But I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Clubhouse, LinkedIn. Just search Jamal Maxsam. You can go to my website, jamalmaxsam.org, and see about what I do, and and even schedule sessions with me. I offer free 30-minute sessions for edupreneurs and for people who want to become principals. Just reach out, and I'll be glad to help and support.
And all those links will be in the show notes. You guys make sure you connect with Jamal. He's amazing. I've loved meeting him and having him on today. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Love meeting you too.
Well, hey there. Thank you so much for listening into the Elementary Music Teacher podcast. There is an exclusive Facebook group just for listeners of this podcast and any elementary music teacher called the Elementary Music Teacher Community Facebook group. Come on over and join us there, where we have conversations around the podcast episodes and encourage each other each and every week. And also head to my website, thedomesticmusician.com. I have some free resources there that you can download to help you gain traction in your classroom today, as well as the blog and the membership site and all kinds of other goodies to help you keep going in your music teaching journey. I cannot wait to keep connecting with you and encouraging you and spurring you on in your journey of teaching elementary music. Hang in there, have an amazing week, and I will see you soon.